What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. We're going to talk a little bit about the firing of Vance Joseph, something that's not really news. I mean, look, it's late tonight. I didn't want to come on right. It's not like it was a surprise firing, so I just wanted to get on here and say what I had to say about it. And glad the Broncos did this and moved on down the road. So I'm going to give a little time for people to join the stream. Let me get things pulled up on my laptop here. Already got a few people in. Happy New Year to everybody, man. About to be the 2019 New Year. New Year for the Denver Broncos is going to happen here just in about, 4 or 5 hours. So we're looking good as far as for the new year. But let's talk about what happened with Vance today. So, of course, the Broncos went ahead and moved on from him, fired him and sent him on down the road, and I'm glad that we did. I mean, I was a big advocate of firing Vance when we were 3-6, and not even really having him this whole year. But you guys know what my thought is on it, is that I don't think it was Elway's decision to begin with. It's Joe Ellis. The Broncos have bigger problems than quarterback and who's coach. Our problem is front office stuff right now. Hey, Happy New Year, Bronco Fanatic 97. So, we get rid of him, and I want to be fair to Vance. I mean, look, is Vance a dumb guy? No, I don't hate Vance. I don't hate Vance Joseph. I don't think he's a dumb coach. I don't think look, these guys that are in the NFL, they're not dummies. They're smart. And I'm sure he knows schemes and players and how to evaluate talent. I'm sure there's a lot of things that Vance does really well, but along with all of that, you also have to handle the pressure of the job, the decision-making of when to throw challenge flags, how to, manage the play clock and timeouts. And you don't have to be a football coach to understand basic math and where we messed up on a lot of things this year. And Vance had a big piece to do with that. So here we are, a team that wins 6 games. I mean, we had an opportunity to win a couple more. And I think had Vance not been our coach, we could have probably won the Houston game if we don't try that stupid 62-yard field goal. We could have maybe won the Cleveland game. We could have maybe even won the first Chiefs game when we played him here at home. So, I just think that he contributed to a lot of the Broncos' woes this year. And so it was time for him to go. It's more than just, coaching and practice and making sure that we got good schemes and those type of things. So, what's up, Chiefs Ridgeway, Angelo, Denver Broncos media, man? Argo. Look, all I want to say about this whole situation is that, I'm not pointing the finger here at Vance. We could have, got Bill Belichick. If Bill Belichick was the coach of the Denver Broncos this year, would we have done better? And my answer is yes, because Belichick would have handled that play clock and those challenge flags and those timeouts under pressure better than Vance did. And I think we would have won 2 more games. Now, what's that mean? We finished with 8 wins. It's a lot better than having a losing record. It's something to build on. And I think Vance caused us too much of that trouble. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there that want to put a lot of this burden on the shoulders of John Elway. And I'm not a homer. Elway's not even my favorite Denver Bronco of all time. Matter of fact, I don't even have a favorite player. I have a favorite team. My team is the Denver Broncos. I could care less about Elway. I think Elway's the best man for this job here in Denver. And I don't think you can put this on his shoulders. You go back and look at all of the players that Elway has drafted since 2011, over 90% of them still have NFL uniforms, which means we got some sort of trade value, something for this in return. Now, things don't always work out. I understand that, prior to this season, Elway had only drafted one guy that had made the Pro Bowl, Von Miller, and then this year we get, lucky and get Chubb and Lindsey. But Elway's made a lot of good decisions, too. And you got to give him credit for that, because we've never really had a serious chance at a quarterback. I mean, is there any Broncos fan out there that thought, oh, Case Keenum, we're going to win the Super Bowl now? I don't think any real Broncos fan thought that. I think you look at the whole situation and you're like, Kirk Cousins, almost $90 million, and Case Keenum basically working for what hamburger flippers make as far as quarterbacks in the NFL? Which one should we take for a short-term Band-Aid? I mean, if I have to give one knock to Elway, is I don't think he's done enough really getting us the quality people along our offensive line that we need in free agency. Now, that's easier said than done, because at the end of the day, people who don't know football, they're like, well, you should have never broke up our Super Bowl team. Should have never got rid of Malik Jackson. Should have never got rid of Danny Trevathan. Should have never got rid of Ward, TJ Ward. This all comes down to money. You only have so much money you can deal with, and y'all ain't the ones writing the checks. That's what happens when you win the Super Bowl. And it's going to happen to whether it's the Chiefs or New Orleans, and maybe not New Orleans, but any of those other teams outside of New Orleans and New England, because the only way you can remain consistently good, because this league is built around parity, is to have a phenom, one of the greats of all time at quarterback. And that's why the Patriots have been so successful. You can say, well, Bill Belichick's a great coach and Robert Kraft's a great owner. You know what? Those guys don't take snaps. Those guys don't throw the passes. They're not the ones making the decisions, reading the defenses. This is Tom Brady doing that. And what Brady gets away with, and I don't want to say he gets away with, what the Patriots get away with, is having some average players on their team that Brady can work with because he's that good. I mean, just look at Peyton Manning's last year here. Everybody knows he was a gimp. He could barely move, had that plantar fasciitis in his foot. Terrible athlete that year. But that's not why he was here. He was here to decipher that defense and check us into the right play, because we had enough good players around him that as long as he could at least deliver the ball like halfway, we're probably going to be successful. And people say, oh, well, Broncos, you won a Super Bowl because you went and got Peyton Manning. Well, let's give Elway a little bit of credit for doing his homework and taking a chance on a guy that we didn't even know if his neck was going to be okay, turning around to look and see if somebody was in the other lane in traffic, let alone take a hit by Ray Lewis on the blind side. So let's give Elway some credit. Elway's a champion, a guy who's a born winner. From the day he was born, he's done nothing but win. How can you want somebody else in this position? Look, he came out today in his press conference and said, it starts with me. I'm going to take a look in the mirror and look, I'm going to demand that everybody else gets better, and that means that I got to be better too. Isn't that exactly the type of guy you want running your franchise? Because it's the type of guy I want running mine, especially one that bleeds blue and orange. There's no other human being on the planet right now that I would rather have than John Elway as the GM of the Denver Broncos. Now, I don't believe that Elway has the authority to make all of the decisions that he wants to, because if he did, I'm quite sure Mike Shanahan would have been the coach in Denver last year. Joe Ellis is not going to let that happen. The trustees are not going to let that happen. The Broncos' biggest problem is all the way at the top. It's ownership. It's ownership of this team. It's family members fighting, saying the board of trustees are not doing this the way Pat Bowlen wanted to. And then Elway's caught in the middle of it, and I think he was forced by the NFL to hire Vance. Forced. Pressured. We've never had a black coach here. We've never even had a black quarterback, really. So it was time for the Denver Broncos to take that step. And we took it, and it didn't work out with Vance. I'm not saying I hate Vance, or Vance is the reason that we had a bad year this year. We had a bad year this year because we were busted up with injuries and we had rookies all over the place. There's a difference between rookies and veterans. Wait until you see how good Bradley Chubb is going to be in 2 more years, when he really becomes a man, because right now, all he is an overglorified college senior, a kid. He's a kid. Wait till he's a real man. And he's playing in this NFL league. This dude's going to be wrecking shop like Khalil Mack, and y'all know it. So, all I'm saying is that you can't hang all of this on Elway. Go look at all the draft picks that he's chosen and take everything into consideration. Not just his draft picks, but who he's been able to talk about to come here as a free agent. He was like, oh, well, he just went and got Manning. Well, there was a lot of other teams wanting Peyton Manning too, and they were willing to pay him more than we were. Tennessee was trying to get Peyton Manning. So Elway was the man who was able to make this deal. Could anybody else other than John Elway and probably the OG Bronc Nuts could have made that deal happen and got Manning to Denver? Maybe not. I don't know. But I know this. He's the guy that I want have and run this franchise, because I know that he's a champion and I know that he's going to do whatever it's going to take to win. And you just can make the best decisions you can at the time with the information that you have available. And that's all you can do. I mean, let's even look at Brock Osweiler. People say, oh, well, Elway can't pick quarterbacks. This guy was not a top-tier quarterback. I never even heard of Brock Osweiler before we took him. And the only reason we did is because Elway's kid went to Arizona State, quit the team. He had a little bit of interest in Arizona State and saw Brock there. But let's look and evaluate what Brock did during our Super Bowl year. When he come in and win 5 or 6 games and Peyton went out with that plantar fasciitis, beat Tom Brady and the Patriots in a snowy game, a big game here in Denver. Looked like, this was going to be the future star of the Denver Broncos. It looked like that to all of you too, which is why Elway was trying to offer him a reasonable contract. And when Brock decided to go for the big money, which we did not plan on, and we weren't willing to match Houston's offer, we got stuck with Trevor Siemian. And everybody wants to hang this all on Elway. We thought Brock was going to sign here. We offered Brock a lot of money. And go ask Brock Osweiler right now, if he could do it all over, what would he do? And I bet you he'd have never left Denver. He would have taken the money that we were offering him here. He was still on a trial basis. I mean, look, Brock Osweiler looked about as good as the limited amount of time as Jimmy Garoppolo got in the game in New England. The 49ers took a big chance on Garoppolo. Yeah, he looked good last year in the first, those 6 games or whatever. But look, we haven't seen this guy do this long term. He's now hurt. You never know how things are going to work out in the NFL. So, I don't, look, I know we need a franchise quarterback, Rambo. I mean, I think everybody knows that. That's the obvious. Everybody knows we need a franchise quarterback, but it's easier said than done. A lot of things just have to work out right. They just have to work out right. And that's why Case needs to be the starter in Denver next year, and he's going to be. It's only an $11 million hit against the cap. We only save $11 million by cutting and releasing Case Keenum. What you have to do in the NFL is you have to string together some drafts. Let's look at John Dorsey, what he did for the Chiefs, right? He had 2 or 3 years there where he strung together great drafts. When you're talking about Tyreek Hill and Hunt and Mahomes and Kelsey, and now their left tackle Fisher's coming on pretty good. Barry, he strung together some good years in there of some drafts, and that's why the Chiefs are doing so well, because you have all of those guys on rookie contracts, and then you can go out and get some high-priced free agents. In the NFL, things just, the sun and the star and the moon, everything just has to be aligned. And when it is aligned, you have to capitalize on your opportunity. And I think the Broncos have done that. John Elway has done that. It's not always going to be our opportunity. Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Team's won, 6 Super Bowls? They got a Hall of Fame quarterback. A Hall of Fame quarterback. It's been 1-1. They're not in the playoffs and the Super Bowl hunt every single year. And they got real good team over there. Teams go through ebb and flows, through ups and downs. So I don't expect the Broncos to be competing for Lombardi trophies every single year. I know we're going to be shitty sometimes. I know that there's going to be times when the Chiefs or the Raiders or the Chargers have the upper hand in the division. We've had the upper hand in the division while they were doing their rebuild. Now it's their time. It's their time, and let's see if they can get it done. Because the Denver Broncos closed the deal when it was our time. And then what happens is players get recognized, they get noticed. Somebody wants to offer Malik Jackson $90 million, and we can't pay him. We can't pay him. It's the same reason why a lot of ignorant fans, dumb Bronco fans, are going to be screaming next year when we release or get rid of Shaq Barrett. Shouldn't have got rid of Shaq Barrett. You can't invest all your money in outside pass rushers. We need help at other positions, and Shaq Barrett's probably going to be an unrestricted free agent, or at least a restricted where we can match the contract, and somebody's going to offer him big money because he's a good player. We cannot invest that kind of money when we already have Chubb and Miller. So we have to invest in other places. This is a business game. This isn't about, well, we didn't think Malik Jackson was a good player, or we didn't think that TJ Ward was a good player, or we don't think that Demaryius Thomas is a good player. Demaryius Thomas is a very good player. He's not an elite wide receiver, but he's right underneath that. But he's not worth $14 million. You got to draft and get younger, and you got to string drafts together. So we've had one good draft this year. We've had a bunch of mediocre and not good drafts, so we definitely have been missing on first rounders, and that's on Elway and all the people making those decisions. We definitely got to do a better job at that. But if you look at all of the polls that have been done, whether it's ESPN, Sporting News, the NFL.com website, and you rank the power rankings of GMs, Elway's in the top 10, and every one of them, he's in the top 10. And most of these polls were done in 2016 and 2017. So you add this 18 draft class on top of that, and he's at the top of the list. We made a bad decision hiring a young coach, and I think he got forced into the decision. He didn't want this guy because Elway's too smart of a competitor to want this guy. He's not the one making the decisions just because on his business card it says GM of the Denver Broncos. He's the one who got to take credit today of firing Vance Joseph. Believe me, Joe Ellis fired Vance Joseph. The Bolin family fired Vance Joseph because there's about to be mutiny in the stands at Mile High Stadium. I mean, you're talking about a guy who halfway through the year sent in Chad Kelly to take a snap just to down the ball. Why would you do that? Why would you get this fan base all riled up, screaming, Kelly, Kelly? We saw Case having trouble just to go in there and take a snap, and then it's halftime, we come out and Case is a starter. Dumb decisions. This is not what head coaches and leaders do in the NFL. So, to me, Elway is safe. If he's not safe, it's only because Joe Ellis has a power trip, and I don't think Joe Ellis has a problem with John Elway, and I think Joe Ellis understands that this entire orange and blue fan base, the majority of them will turn on Joe Ellis if John Elway gets fired by Joe Ellis. John Elway's going to have to do some really bad things. I mean, string together 10 years of losing seasons before he's going to be out of here. We're 3 years removed from the Super Bowl, and 5 years removed from going to 2 Super Bowls, and how soon people forget and want to slice John Elway's head off. John Elway ain't going nowhere. So, I think, for head coach, I don't know yet, right? Because I don't know who's really available in the real world. Because there's available and doesn't have a job, and there's available, doesn't have a job, willing to come to Denver, and then there's unavailable, might be willing to come into Denver, and then there's unavailable, doesn't want to coach and definitely doesn't want to coach in Denver. I don't know who the candidates are. So I can't tell you who I think the next head coach should be. I told you yesterday in my live stream, if I had some magic pixie dust, who my coach would be. It would be Mike Shanahan. And look, I don't like the fact that Mike Shanahan's an old guy. I don't like that he hasn't coached for many years in the NFL. What I do like is Mike Shanahan has instantaneous credibility, instantaneous leadership, knows how to run a program, knows the ins and outs of the NFL, knows how to work with young quarterbacks, which we're going to have here very soon. And then let's get some quality defensive and offensive coordinators and a good coaching staff around him. And then go hunting for our quarterback that we're going to try to develop for the future. That's who I want in a perfect world. I want Tom Coughlin as my defensive coordinator. But that's not going to happen. Tom Coughlin ain't leaving Jacksonville as a cushy job up in the press box as the VP of football operations to come be the DC of the Denver Broncos. That's not going to happen. That's magic fairy dust. So I really don't know who it is. I see some people in here, you want some people want Pagano and the Bears defensive coordinator well, about the Ravens head coach, John Harbaugh, Denver Broncos media, I think they offered him an extension already, I think. And I would have been okay with Harbaugh. Definite credibility. I'd be even okay trying to lure the other Harbaugh away from Michigan. Maybe even trying to lure, Herm Edwards away from Arizona State. We need somebody with some NFL experience along this sidelines. Somebody with some head coaching experience, not a defensive coordinator somewhere. We need somebody who can come in here and calm the waters. Leadership is what we need. We need a strong leader coach. And I think that's what we got to have. Munchak, yeah, I like him too. Pagano's a little iffy. I agree with you, Spencer Alvarez. I know a lot of people like Mike McCarthy. But I mean, look, Mike McCarthy's got a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, arguably, you could say that Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. You can arguably say that because he can do things that Tom Brady can't do. He's smart. He can also move around in the pocket. He can make crazy throws like Mahomes makes. I mean, he can do some things. But he's only gotten to win one Super Bowl. So how does Mike McCarthy not have that kind of success with that kind of franchise quarterback? I'd love to have a quarterback like that here. Those kind of guys don't come around but once a decade. It's not easy just to go find Patrick Mahomes in the damn draft. So a lot of you are wearing blue and orange glasses and you don't understand the realities of football, what is really happening. It's a business. It's hard to put these teams together. You've got to build your team through the draft. You can go out and try to buy all the high-priced experienced players that you want, and you're going to run out of money. You're not going to have enough. So you build some guys through free agency. They have 4 or 5 good years of their career. I mean, look, Philip Lindsay's making nothing, right? Imagine he does what he did this year, even remotely close to it, for the next 4 years. You know how much money Philip Lindsay's going to get? A lot of money. Stupid money. Which was my point on this is the time for the Chiefs. The Chiefs weren't going to be able to keep Kareem Hunt and Hill and Mahomes and Kelsey. You're not going to be able to sign all of those guys because they're all going to want big money. So I agree, Adrian. Nothing's guaranteed, man. We have to, I don't care if we win the Super Bowl once every 10 years. I think that's a pretty good cycle for an NFL team. It takes some time to win, and then maybe that next year you can keep your team mostly intact, but sooner or later, your good young players' contracts are up and they're exposed to free agency, and you can't do this. You just can't do it. It's not that you don't want to. We wanted all of those players to stay here in Denver. We have 3 big free agent contracts that are going to come up this year. Shelby Harris, I think, will re-sign. Pratis, probably going to re-sign. And then the other one is Shaq Barrett. And we're probably not going to re-sign Shaq Barrett because the kind of money he's going to be able to get is Danny Trevathan type money. And he's going to be playing somewhere else. Not because we don't value him. Not because he's not a great Denver Bronco. Shaq Barrett wants an opportunity to start in the NFL, and he ain't going to get it here. And I don't blame him. If you were Shaq Barrett, you'd want to start and make the big money too. So people can say, well, you know, look, if you want to be good for a long time, you're going to have to be willing to make sacrifices and take pay cuts and blah, 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 blah. And certainly that's definitely the case. And a lot of teams have done that. Elway did that here. Had some of his money extended out, so he took a pay cut so we could work with the salary cap. Yes, you are going to have to make some sacrifices, but the reality is that these guys ain't willing to make sacrifices. They're sacrifices to their own family. Their loyalty is their wife and their kids and their own family, and that's where it should be. It shouldn't be with the Denver Broncos. They're just a pawn in the big NFL game, and they're going to go where they get paid. So, to me, yeah, Spencer, man, I trust Elway. People can say whatever they want, Bronco fans. You go your way, I'm going Elway. I'll follow Elway wherever he goes. Matter of fact, if Elway leaves here and becomes a GM of a new team, it'll probably be my second favorite team, and I don't even have a second favorite team because I believe in the guy. Has he made some mistakes? Have we missed on some first-round draft picks? Yeah, that's undisputed. And Elway takes responsibility for that. He ain't ducking nobody. Elway's not relaxing. Elway's not content with winning a Super Bowl MVP. He said today at his press conference, what I have done prior to this doesn't matter. It only matters here going forward. And he's right. But you know what? At least he's man enough to say that. He ain't hanging on any of his laurels or on his name. Elway's accomplished a lot of things in his life and could sit back in his GM's chair with his feet on the desk if he wanted to. And he'd probably still be safe with this job. But he's not like that. He's not that kind of a human being. He's not that kind of a competitor because Elway's got more heart than any of you have. A lot of heart. And he wants to win. And he knows Broncos fans want to win. And he knows their expectation is to win. So, as long as this next hire is his decision, and I'm pretty sure that it is all the way going to be his decision, then I think it's fair to judge Elway on who his next hire is and how that next hire does over the next 5 years. I think it's fair to judge him, but I don't think Vance was his hire. Now, for 1 second, I've talked to people that y'all haven't talked to. I've heard conversations from people on the inside of the Denver Broncos organization. They told me straight to my face it wasn't his hire. So, enough said. Give this man a break, because none of you out there know what's going on, including me. I don't even know what's going on inside that organization. Only the people inside the organization know. So, man, I like Elway. I trust Elway. And I think Elway will, look, Ellis told him interview some candidates and spend a lot of time with them. Spend a lot of time with each one of them and find out who we're really going to be able to work with here, get a plan together, and then just go out and execute that plan. And that's going to include, picking good guys in the draft. But if you go look at, like I said, Elway's stats, he's right up there with all the best GMs in the NFL. He's had a bad stretch of a few years, 3 years since we won the dang Lombardi Trophy. And everybody wants to hang him and put this on him. It's not on him. Yeah, have we gone through a few different head coaches? Yes, we have. Kubiak, had health problems. John Fox had health problems. You think Elway factored all these health problems in when he signed to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos in the first place? No. You think he hired Kubiak thinking he was only going to be here for a couple of years? No. It's just the way things go sometimes. So, let's get to these comments. You don't want anybody but Mike Shanahan, huh, Iron Man? Well, look, I think that we need a young, progressive coach here. The game has changed, right? I mean, look even at our first Super Bowl. Remember that big hit Steve Atwater put on that Packers receiver to seal the deal? That's a 15-yard penalty in today's game, which means the Green Bay Packers are holding the Lombardi Trophy and not us. So the game has changed. And I think that we need a coach that changes with the game. And that's the only reason I say Shanahan, no, he's too far removed from what's going on in today's current NFL game. But I do like his leadership. So to me, what's really happening on Sundays out on that field is because of your defensive and offensive coordinator. I mean, your head coach orchestrates the whole thing, but he's really just like the CEO of the company. He's making sure all the cogs in the wheel are still turning. But the intricate day-to-day things that are happening with what's going to transpire on the field on Sunday, this is with defensive and offensive coordinators. So, I don't think that we could go wrong hiring Shanahan. But I think that, we need to find a younger, progressive coach that's more in tune with these younger players. I think that's important. And I think somebody's out there, and you never know who they are, right? I mean, nobody knew Bill Belichick was going to be a great coach of a great dynasty and make all of the great decisions and moves he had for the Patriots organization when he was coaching for the Cleveland Browns. They didn't. So sometimes a coach just needs an opportunity and things have to just line up. The Broncos are going to be fine. This organization is committed to winning. It's committed to winning. I mean, thank goodness, Bronco fans, that we don't live in a place like Cincinnati, right? Where they're not committed to winning. They're not trying to put a championship team on that field every single year. Even the Chiefs weren't, you could say that about them. They weren't trying to do that either. I mean, they weren't selling the seats out. They had a bunch of mediocre teams for many years. Why? Bad decisions. And sometimes it takes a while to get out of those bad decisions. What's up, Steel 58? Happy holidays, man. Happy New Year. Hey, Fizzle, what's going on, man? You ready to see the Chiefs go down the playoffs? Look, hey, I've said it before, and I mean, this is just real talk. I ain't hating on the Chiefs. I mean, I do hate the Chiefs. But real talk is just, the Chiefs have as good a chance to win it as anybody. I mean, they do. And look, the Chiefs have a similar team that we had, I think, in what was it, like 2013 or something. It was Manning's like first year. The year that we lost to Baltimore on that fluke Hail Mary where, who was it, Stewart or whoever mistimed his jump. And, they won that game. That year, we were unstoppable. We were unstoppable. Yeah, Raheem Moore. Sorry. Good call, Spencer. That year we were unstoppable. We didn't play very good defense. And you can win with a team like that. So can the Chiefs win the Super Bowl? Yes, they can. I don't think they will. Because I just think that when you play, the only thing they got good thing going for them is that first round bye. So they've only got to win 3 games. So if you can come out and your offense is literally on fire, hitting on every cylinder for all 3 games, Chiefs are going to hold the Lombardi because there's nobody that can score with them except for maybe New Orleans. So, but there's nobody in the AFC that's going to score with him. I mean, Brady, if he has a hot day, but he's going to have one of his best days ever to beat them. So, but I think, don't count Brady out in the playoffs. I mean, we saw Brady down by like 7,000 points against the Falcons and came back, and at the end of the game, he's the one holding up the trophy. So you don't never count that guy out. He's that good. He's a special type player. And I hate Tom Brady. I hate that I have to say that he's the best ever. By far, bar none, no questions about it. Especially when my guy number 7 did it here pretty good in Denver for a long time. Well, a long time with the 3 amigos and Sammy Winder. Junk. He carried this team to Super Bowls we shouldn't even have been in. A 98-yard drive, the drive 2, snowy conditions complete in 4th downs 3 times on that drive. A ball getting snapped, hitting Steve Sewell in the leg while he was in motion. Like things just fell into place for us, and Elway carried us. But I'm telling you right now, number 12 is as good as it gets. It's good as it gets. So don't count them out, and I don't think you can count anybody out. I think the whole thing is wide open in the AFC. Chiefs fans hoping Mahomes don't win the MVP. Why? Oh, because they haven't won a Super Bowl since '99. Look, I think Mahomes is a clear-cut MVP. I just think he is. I don't think there's any player that even is a close second. He is the MVP of the league this year, and good for Patrick Mahomes. And, he had a great year. Don't think this is going to be like this every year. It wasn't like this every year for Elway. It wasn't like this every year for Montana or Marino or Favre or any of those great quarterbacks, because Patrick Mahomes never been cracked wide open yet, and he's going to, because every player gets it sooner or later. You get it what's coming to you. And so now he's got a rolled up ankle, bruised ribs, a hurt wrist, a broken thumb, a sprained index finger. Let's see how he comes out and does that after multiple injuries compound on him for 10, 15 years like these great ones have. This guy's done it one time, and he still ain't done jack shit, except win an AFC West championship for the 3rd straight time for the Chiefs. So he ain't done nothing. And until he does, the Chiefs are nothing. So altitude sickness, I think the Chiefs are in trouble without Kareem Hunt too. I've been saying that all along. He sells play action every single play. He's easily one of the top 3 backs in the NFL. And he's one of the only 2 or 3 guys that can beat you for a 70-yard bomb out of the backfield. And that causes lots of problems for defenses, linebacker schemes, everything. And when you compound that with a quarterback like Mahomes that can move around, a speedy wide receiver like Hill, and a big tight end that can run like a wide receiver, you got problems. But when you take that piece away, I've been saying all along that Kareem Hunt is the key that makes the whole thing go, and that's before he went and started kicking girls. Kareem Hunt's the best player on the team. So I think that is going to come back to bite him, and it is going to hurt because, look, when in the playoffs, you better show up with defense and a running game, and now they got neither. So we'll see what happens with the Chiefs. I'm not happy that, there's only 12 teams left or whatever that can win this dang thing, and 2 of them are in our division. That's not good. I don't want anybody in our division to ever win the Super Bowl, ever. Just like the Chiefs don't want us to win one, the Raiders don't want. I don't want anybody in our division winning the Super Bowl. So, I'm going to admit I'm a little biased, but I think the Chiefs have a dang good football team, and they're pretty hard to stop. So if their offense is clicking and Mahomes is making left-handed passes for 15-yard completions, you can't beat that. You cannot beat that. You can play great, have great players, you can't beat it. He's having one of those special years, and all pro athletes go through that. Look at even what Roethlisberger did his first year in the NFL. Crushed it. And since then, he's been good, but he hasn't always had his team sniffing for the Super Bowl. Got beat here in Denver by Tim Tebow. So, and Roethlisberger has accomplished a few things in this league. So, you think the Eagles are going back to the bowl? Well, Nick Foles better hope he plays, because I don't think you're going to win the Super Bowl with 3rd-string quarterback. It's hard enough to do it with a 2nd string. Although, you can say what you want about Nicky Foles, man. Guy's coming in. He's been dealing this year. And good for him. I like rooting for underdogs. Hey, Fizzle, you think the Ravens can be scary in the playoffs? I do too, man, because they got a defense And, you get some cold weather games. And, I mean, it's just all about defense and running the football. And the Ravens can do, they can definitely play defense. And running the ball, I mean, shoot, their best running backs are quarterbacks. So, I mean, they obviously got a running game. You think Ravens-Bears in the Super Bowl? I think Super Bowl is going to be, well, I'm hoping for Houston and New Orleans, but I would like to see Houston play New England in the AFC Championship game. That's what I think it's going to be. I think the Chiefs will get knocked out. But if not, I think it'll be New England and Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. And I think, who knows, the Bears and New Orleans. And I think Drew Brees is that good, and they got pretty good defense. They got two really good running backs, a couple good wide receivers. I mean, to me, the Saints look like the strongest team in the NFL that's all put together, top to bottom, defense, offense, special team, coaching. I mean, Saints look like they're pretty hard to beat. But, hey, best teams don't always win. We see that all the time. You got to show up to play, and if you don't show up to play or if things go wrong, you get smashed in the Super Bowl just like we did by the Seahawks. How do I feel now that Vance is gone? Look, I'm not doing jumping jacks. I mean, I'm glad he's gone. I really don't want this guy coaching the Denver Broncos. I don't think he's the right guy for this job. I think he makes too many mistakes. But, like I said earlier in the stream, I'm not going to point the finger at Vance and say, well, the reason the Broncos sucked this year was because of Vance Joseph. Well, it's not. I mean, Vance made some mistakes. He made some big mistakes. And you cannot make those mistakes in the NFL game and get away with it. You just can't. So I don't think Vance is going to get another opportunity to coach as a head coach in the NFL anytime soon. But, I mean, who knows where he ends up. I mean, I don't think Vance is a dumb guy. I don't think that, we hire just stupid people. I don't think any NFL team does. I mean, these guys, they're smart guys. They know football. Vance Joseph knows football. I just don't think that he puts it all together yet. And we can't afford to have a guy like that. It'll be hard if Vance ends up on the Falcons coaching staff. I'm sure Slid would be happy with that. But it sounds like the rumor is he's headed down there to where? Cleveland or Cincinnati with Hugh Jackson maybe. So who knows? And wouldn't that be something? Let's just say that he does that. And next thing you know, Cincinnati somehow figured out everything came together and now they're in the Super Bowl or winning the division. I mean, things change real quick in the NFL. It's a hard game to win this trophy. I mean, it is. It's hard to have it all come together because you just got to string together a couple of good drafts. That's why this draft we got coming up is really important, and so is next year's draft. And in either this year or next year, we got to get a quarterback, and he's got to be the right one. And we're not going to be good out of the gate. I mean, sometimes it takes a quarterback a couple of years to really come together. I mean, you look at what Baker Mayfield did in Cleveland this year, had a great year, but I mean, they're not in the playoffs. Had Baker started the whole year, maybe they would be. If Hugh Jackson wasn't there, maybe they would be. But it's very rare you're going to have a guy just come in and just tear the NFL up as a rookie because this ain't college. So, there's some concerns on when you pick a quarterback that sometimes you're going to end up with the wrong guy. You're just going to end up with the wrong guy. So, man, whatever. You like Kohler as the coach, huh, Iron Man? Yeah, like I said, I don't know because I don't know who's really available and I don't know what the list of candidates is. And so when we get that list of 5 potential candidates or 6 and we get it narrowed down to a short list of 3, then we can start talking about who the coach should be and why. Because, look, we can all want, whoever to be coach, but it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So if it's not going to happen, then there's no sense even talking about it. Let's talk about what we can really, honestly, legitimately maybe make happen here in Denver and not talk about what we can't have happen because, look, Shanahan's not going to be the coach of the Denver Broncos. Joe Ellis has made it clear he's not coming here. Some bad blood in this organization somehow between him and the Bolins or maybe personal between him and Ellis. But he's not coming back to Denver. He's just not. So there's no reason to really talk about that. Is Elway a bad quarterback evaluator? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that, when he evaluated Brock, I mean, let's be honest. Brock looked pretty dang good when he was in the game here. He didn't look unbelievable. He didn't do things like Mahomes did in his rookie year, or even Elway did in his rookie year, where you were like, wow. But he wasn't a first-round top-tier quarterback. So for a second-round pick, I think Elway did a pretty good job evaluating him, and he did a good job when he was here. And people say, well, oh, he tried to make Chad Kelly the solution. No, he didn't. You don't try to make Mr. Irrelevant the solution to your franchise. He did Chad Kelly a favor because of Jim Kelly. And Chad Kelly was a pretty decent prospect. Could have been a first-day pick had he not gotten in trouble and not hurt his wrist before the combine, and he couldn't work out in his pro day. And that's why he fell all the way to he did. Off-the-field trouble and wrist problems for a quarterback are not two good things. They're going to add up together. And he gave Chad a chance. But, you know, to say Trevor Siemian, 7th-round pick, Chad Kelly, 7th-round pick, Brock Osweiler, did he mess up on Paxton Lynch? Yes. But look, lots of GMs have gotten quarterbacks wrong. Guys haven't panned out. We traded up to get Paxton Lynch, who probably shouldn't have been a first-round pick in the first place. We've never gotten serious about getting a pick because we've never been able to pick high enough to grab our guy. Now, last year, yes, at pick number 5, but I don't know how you can argue with Bradley Chubb and not taking a quarterback there. And maybe the quarterback that Elway liked, and it was rumored, was Baker Mayfield, and maybe that's the only one he liked. I liked Allen and Mayfield. I didn't like Darnold or Rosen. So, you know, look, if you're the GM and the only guy you like is Mayfield and he's gone, and we say, hey, here's a guy, Chubb, who maybe should have been the first pick overall. And, I mean, he made the Pro Bowl. Baker Mayfield didn't make no Pro Bowl. So it's hard to argue with what we did last year. And now we've got a top 10 pick. And look, man, it might be the time we're going to have to fire on a quarterback. But again, we're kind of in a jam because at 10, we're not going to be able to get Haskins or Locke. Those two are going to be gone before 10. And if one of those two is there, I'm fine with taking either one of them. But I'm not okay with taking Daniel Jones at 10. So the only thing we can do is draft a corner, which I think is more important than drafting a quarterback at 10, because we need more help than that. And maybe we have to go next year for a quarterback. Or maybe we have to hope Daniel Jones slips all the way to the bottom of the first round, which he might, and then trade away some of our lower draft picks, you know, or swap a pick, do whatever we got to do to move back up and then maybe take a chance on him. But I don't like Daniel Jones at 10, and I don't think the other two are going to follow us at 10. That's why it leads me to believe we're not going to take quarterback. Case is only $11 million against the cap next year. We've already paid him the money. He's going to be the starter. And then next year, we mortgage everything we got. If you find a guy you like, you want to go get Tua, you want to go get Herbert, whoever you want to go get, you mortgage everything you got, you go get the dude, and you just cross your fingers and hope you made the right decision. Because if you didn't, it's going to set your franchise back to a decade at least. And thank goodness Elway didn't cave to the price and the demands that Brock wanted. I mean, think of the position we'd be in right now had we gave Brock a 5-year deal. What was he getting, $18, $19 million a year in that deal? With not as much guaranteed as Houston wanted to give him, and that's why he ended up going to Houston, was because of that guaranteed money. But, I mean, let's be honest. Let's just be glad that Elway we're not in that jam. He didn't cave to that demands because that was kind of the going rate for a quarterback. I mean, quarterbacks are expensive. So get to some more of these comments. You like trading back and getting Greer Jones after DeAndre Baker. You like that, DeAndre Baker. Hey, DeAndre Baker really helped us out a lot. I mean, who knows if he'll even be there. But, I mean, you got to like a guy named Greedy on your defense, right? So, look, a lot of things are going to get shook out. Trades are going to get made. You don't know who's going to be free agents. There's no quarterbacks out there that I really like. I mean, I definitely don't want Joe Flacco here. Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, maybe, but no. So, I mean, there's nobody there that I really want. So, and nothing is really going to make us an AFC West contender in 1 year. We're going to have to string together a few drafts here, and we got to keep people healthy. I mean, I've heard video makers out there say, well, Elway's never addressed the tight end situation. Well, yes, he did. Yes, he did address the tight end situation. I mean, we took Jake Butt in the 5th round, a guy who would have been a 1st or 2nd round draft pick. We got awesome value. May have been the steal of the draft. But he got hurt. And then he got hurt again. These things happen in the NFL. They happen. Look at the Giants last year. Lost every wide receiver that they had, every weapon that they had. Things happen. So, Demaryius Thomas was hurt the first 2 years of his career. Remember when he was returning punts, got cracked in the end zone, somebody gave him a hip pointer, and he was never the same for a couple of years after that? Keenan Allen blew out his knee twice against the Chiefs. On the rack, on the shelf. No, he's the best underrated wide receiver there is in the game right now. But he's only been doing it a couple of years because he was hurt his first couple of years. That's like saying, well, the Chargers didn't do anything to address their wide receiver needs. They did. And their guy got set on the shelf because he got injured. Could we have taken a David Njoku? Yes. We needed an offensive lineman, which is why Bowles is on our team. Vasquez is gone. So, I mean, Garcia, a lot of guys, I mean, this just happens after a Super Bowl run. You can't just say, well, we should have took this guy and should have that guy. You can only take the information you have at the time. At the time, Bowles looked like a good pick, and I still think Bowles is going to be okay. It takes a couple of years to really get your foots planted here, especially at left tackle when you're facing the best edge rushers in the NFL or in our dang division. Bowles played pretty good the second half of the year. Now, if Bowles comes out and sucks again next year, now we got a problem. Bowles has to make a big step next year for the Denver Broncos. So, no, Muhammad, we are not stuck with Case. We have Case for one more year. That's it. We're not stuck with anything. Look, Case can win. Can he take you and get you a Lombardi? He can on a team that has an elite defense. We do not have that. So can Case win a Super Bowl here in Denver? The answer is no. He can't even win the AFC West here in Denver. He can't. Unless we have an elite defense, and we have far from an elite defense. So could have Case maybe won the Super Bowl, at Super Bowl 50? Could he have done that? Maybe. Maybe he could have. Because we had an elite defense. But we won't have that anymore. So, you're sick of Bowles and his holding and false start penalties? I am too, Fizzle, but I mean, let's be honest, man. He made a big jump from the first 6 games this year to, take away last week. From there all the way up to the Raiders games, I mean, you didn't really hear Bowles' name too much when there was a penalty being called out. So he played much better. But I think that we definitely need more out of him. I mean, you need more out of your first-round draft pick. But you could say the same thing about the Chiefs. The Chiefs took Eric Fisher, number 1 overall, their tackle. And you know what he was for 2 years? Dumpster juice. And now he's turned out to be a pretty good tackle for them. So it takes a while for a guy just to hit that maturity level of being a pro, the grind of 16 games in a preseason and offseason. And so let's give Bowles a little bit of slack here. And if he doesn't make the big jump next year, then I'm all for let's chop him. But I think he will. I really do think that Bowles is going to make that step. You don't like that John Elway keeps drafting these injured tight ends. Because Butt blew out his ACL before I think in the Rose Bowl or whatever. Yeah, he did. But you gotta understand and just remember that back like when I was playing high school football, you blow out your ACL in the NFL and you're done. Today it's like a sprained ankle. I mean, it really is. I mean, they fix ACL problems, and I think you've seen that when Butt was in there and healthy this year, he looked pretty dang good. He's a big guy, good hands. He made some plays for us. So, and then got hurt right after that. So, I mean, the jury's still out on him. We took a gamble. That's what you do with a 5th-round pick. You take a gamble. That's what you do with the Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft. You take a gamble on a guy like Chad Kelly. There was no part of Elway that says, oh, man, we got to steal the draft. We got Chad Kelly. We got Chad Kelly. Everything's good. We're good. He didn't think that. He thought, well, hey, maybe there's a chance this kid's got a little talent. Let's see what he can do. And it's too bad that Chad got himself in the jam that he did because he sure looked nice, didn't he? But, hey, it's the way it goes. You'd like to see Drew Brees get it. He's a humble guy, Matt Rodriguez. He is. I really like Drew Brees. I like him off the field. I like him on the field. Like all the things that he does with kids, family man. I mean, got a big, beautiful family. I mean, there's a lot to like about Drew Brees. Undersized, nobody really was giving him that chance, and all he's done is pull up his boots every single day and go out on Sundays and deal. And he does it Sunday after Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. He's a formidable force, a great player. And I'd love to see Drew Brees. I mean, it's his time. It's his time to get a ring here. So I liked it. O.J. Howard was at 19. We picked at 20. Yeah, and I think that we may have picked O.J., Adrian, had he been there. I mean, look, we were really looking for a tight end, but I mean, look, that's just the way it goes. And you could say, well, we could have traded up Iron Man, but how do you know that that's even going to work out? I mean, it's all a crapshoot. It's easy to say, well, we should have done this, we should have done that. You ain't the one in the war room making the decisions and writing the paychecks and putting the roster together. This is a lot more difficult than it looks like. You know why people get... You know what's ruined pro football and all you little football TV fans out there? Madden. Because you play Madden, you think you got offenses figured out, you know what cover 2 blitz is and zones and all. It's way more complicated than that in real life. It's way more complicated than that in real life. And you got to take some chances on some players and hope that you hit the jackpot. And that's exactly what we did with Jake Butt and Chad Kelly. So that's all I'm saying. It's a lot harder than it looks. And there's a lot of players that just got to get on down the road because it's just over money. And it's not because the Broncos are being greedy. It's because we just don't have the money to pay them underneath the cap and try to build a whole 53-man roster. Broncos are going to have a lot of cap money this year. I mean, look, if we get rid of Sanders, which, I mean, I got just a sneaking suspicion that we end up getting rid of Sanders. I mean, we're going to be, I think $50 million under the cap. So we're going to have some room to trade some players, and we just got to make sure that we make this number 10 pick that we're going to get count. This one has to count. We cannot miss a first-round draft pick. We cannot miss. So you would have drafted Lindsey? I mean, you could make a case that you could have drafted Lindsey just based on speed alone at Mr. Irrelevant over Chad Kelly. But look, as a GM, you're sitting in that room thinking, okay, well, Pat Manning's retired, and I got two quarterbacks on the roster, and one of them's a rookie. I need some competition here. I only had 2 quarterbacks on the roster. So even though you might have wanted to trade him or wanted to draft him there in the 6th or 7th round, just couldn't, just because of personnel and roster moves. That's why we were on the phone to him right after the draft, trying to convince him to sign here, and he was upset about it because he wanted to get picked. But, I mean, it just comes down to roster spots. I mean, that's all it comes down to. You can only invest so much money at each position, and sometimes guys got to go. They just got to go, and you don't want them to go, but they got to go. It's just the way it works, man. To tell you the truth, Iron Man, I kind of liked Dak Prescott in that draft. I was thinking to myself, yeah, let's just not take Paxton here, and let's move down in this draft. I think there's some good quarterbacks. I mean, when I watched Dak at Mississippi State, I watched a few games his senior year. I was like, man, this guy is elusive, and he's a competitor. He finds the end zone. I mean, he still finds a way to win. And he came out in his rookie year, and he had a great year, and he slumped a couple, and then he's now got his team back in the playoffs, but they got him a receiver. They got him a good running back. I mean, they put some things around him. And decent defense, decent offensive line, good young progressive coach, an owner and a franchise that's committed to winning. It's a good formula. It's a good situation for Dak. And kind of the reason why we, maybe moved up to pick Paxton is because we got bluffed by the Cowboys. We got bluffed because they were interested in Paxton too, and they waited in the weeds and took Dak down there in the later rounds. And look, did we make a mistake there? Obviously we did. But we could have just as easily been right, and everybody said, oh, Elway's a genius. We weren't right. He wasn't right. Guys make mistakes. Elway knows he needs to do better. This ain't no secret. Calexio, California. I think that's how you say it. What's up, Broncos Barber 92? A lot of Broncos fans out there in California. Where are you living at? Where's Calexio's? That's SoCal or Northern California? You didn't want Royce Freeman? I don't know, man. I didn't really have a problem with the Freeman pick. I mean, we needed some help here at running back. To tell you the truth, man, that one kind of puzzled me a little bit just because you look at the year, and he didn't get a lot of opportunities, but the year before, how well D'Angelo Henderson played when he got in the game. I mean, the dude was in there breaking huge long runs every time he got an opportunity. But I know maybe he didn't know blitz schemes, maybe he didn't know the playbook, maybe he was missing practice. I mean, there's a lot of things that fans are not privy to. And if you can't pick up blitzers and you don't know how to read that, you can't go in there and get the quarterback killed. So it kind of hurt, to let him go and then bring in Freeman. And like I've said in my video last night, that I've been really disappointed in Royce Freeman, and I expect that we should be getting a lot more out of Royce than we are. But, hey, he's a rookie too, and, some guys hit that rookie wall, just the grind of 16 games plus the 4 preseason games and the training camp and the mini camp, and so sometimes it takes a while for a guy to adjust to the pro game. And I think, you give Freeman some credit on some things. He caught a couple balls in the flat, and we picked up some, look, it was a 3rd and 5, and he caught it and barreled for 2 more yards that Lindsey probably didn't get unless he made the tackle or miss. So there's some nice things about Royce Freeman that I like, but we definitely got to get a lot more out of him than we are getting him. You didn't want Booker either, could have had Kamara. Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? Who knew Kamara was going to be the player that he is? I mean, obviously you think you did. I didn't know. So hard to say. Do I think Kareem Hunt's going to be back in the mix next year? And do you think he's worth anything? Matt, I don't think he's going to be back in the mix. I think that Roger Goodell got cornered too much after that whole Ray Rice situation, that I don't think Kareem Hunt's going to really probably get a fair shot in the NFL ever again. I mean, I really don't think he will. And I don't think he's worth anything. I don't think there's any team that really wants to touch him with a 10-foot pole just out of principle, right? I mean, the NFL doesn't need that black eye. They got a good brand, a cash cow, a money-making machine, and they're not going to mortgage that on Kareem Hunt. So I just don't see Goodell, unless Kareem, really makes a lot of steps as far as, the things that like maybe Michael Vick did, where he went and became an advocate of, stopping dog fighting. So, Kareem wants to do the things that, about battered women and getting involved in all of that and sustain that for a couple, 2-3 years. And show that, hey, man, what I did was wrong, and I realized it, and I've changed my ways. And not only have I changed my ways, I wanted to become part of the solution instead of being part of the problem. I think outside of that, I don't think that there's any way Kareem Hunt gets back in the NFL. Yeah, it is a lot of talent to waste. It really is. But, look, there's a lot of wasted talent all over the place in the NFL. I mean, look at... what's his face? That Marcus Dupree, wasted talent. You could even say Chad Kelly was potentially wasted talent. I mean, Kareem Hunt was a guy who was actually doing it in the NFL and doing it at a super high level. To me, like I said, one of the top 3 best backs in the game. And you can't just lose a player like that and then just plug somebody else in and expect your offense to be the exact same. And I think we've already seen that with the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs are still an explosive team, still can score an enormous amount of points, but they have been hurt. I see Happy Voice, you think the Redskins might nab Hunt? Look, I think there's going to be chances that somebody might take a chance on him, but I really don't think he's going to get an opportunity, and I don't think he's going to get off that blacklist of Roger Goodell anytime soon. I really don't think it's going to happen. So if you want to take it and waste the money on him, do what you got to do, I guess. 6 picks in the first 95 picks, Raider Nation, bro. Anthony, huh? Yay. Man, Raiders got to do it. I mean, you talk about a team that really needs to have a good draft, it's the Oakland Raiders. Because if you got all these picks and then you're not right, you're in deep trouble. You're in deep trouble because you ain't going to have 6 picks every single year, and now 2 of your franchise stars are gone. It's hard to find guys like Khalil Mack and even Amari Cooper. Now, I thought that the Raiders absolutely hoodwinked the Cowboys in getting a first-round draft pick for Cooper. But, you look at what Cooper's done with the Cowboys. He's made me eat my words. I take it all back. All back. The Cowboys made a great deal for only 1 first-round draft pick to get a guy like Amari Cooper. You look how much he's helped that team. Do I think Holmes is a modern-day Vic, or is he just crazy talent that we should expect in the NFL future super athletes? I don't think he's... I think he's a very, very good talent, but I think you can find a lot of good backs in the NFL. A lot of good backs. There's a lot of good guys out there that are fast and shifty. You look at Kareem Hunt, he's a pretty special talent. Or you're talking about Holmes. It's special talent, man. Just special talent. Freeman isn't Lindsey. They're different kinds of runners. They are. I mean, Lindsey's a shifty runner. It'd be nice if we could somehow use Lindsey kind of like the Darren Sproles was used for many years, where he's only getting 10, 15 touches a game, but he's used a lot as a decoy on dump out passes and freezing linebackers. And I mean, he's a tough kid. I mean, I like the kid that he gets hit, he runs with authority, and he gets up talking trash after every single time. Like, listen, I'm going to be back in about 15 seconds, so make sure your chin strap's buttoned up. I mean, you got to like a guy like that on your team, a guy that's a fighter, a guy playing with his chip on his shoulder. I mean, Phillip Lindsay is quickly becoming my favorite Denver Bronco of all time. And I told you earlier in the stream, I don't really have a favorite Denver Bronco. I'm just a Denver Broncos fan. Players come and go. Players come and go. Sometimes it's not fun as a fan because of players that, were really good, or players that you like that really helped your team. But, I mean, sometimes it's just time for them to go. So... yeah, I see what you say there, altitude sickness. That Mayak had Mahomes was a little bit of a reach for the Chiefs. But you know what? Look, man, good job on the Chiefs. The Chiefs did their homework. They did their study. They knew that they liked that guy from the very beginning. They put themselves in position, and they weren't even afraid up to, maybe trade up and reach to get their guy. If you think it's your guy, then it doesn't matter how much you had to give away to get him. Right? If you think that you got the next Joe Montana, you got the next John Elway, you got the next Patrick Mahomes, if you think that this kid is that guy, trade away your whole damn draft to get him if you have to. Because it doesn't matter. It's only 1 year. That quarterback can play for you for 10, 12, 13, 15 years. If he has a great career, it's worth it. It's worth to taking the bite and the bullet to move up and bust out some value to get a guy like that. So, I mean, I got to give props out to the Chiefs and John Dorsey for doing that. I mean, you look at some of the moves that he made in Kansas City. Dude made some nice moves, and he's making nice moves now in Cleveland. I mean, a good GM. That's a good GM right there. So, and obviously a good evaluator of talent. Alabama does put out some nice running backs, don't they? Derrick Henry's looked pretty good. I mean, in these later weeks of the year. I mean, it's too bad that he's not going to get to do to the Chiefs what he did to them last year, because he ran all over them last year. But Bama does put out some good quarterbacks. Who do you think? I mean, if we don't draft a quarterback this year, if we just say, okay, well, it doesn't work out, and I don't think that we go into the draft. I don't think Elway's going to go into the draft of, we're not drafting a quarterback this year, we're going to draft one next year. I don't think that's how you go into this draft. And I don't think that's the way he will go into the draft. I think he'll go, what's up, Bugs? I don't think he'll go into the draft that way this year. I think Elway will go into the draft that, hey, we need a quarterback, and if somehow Haskins or Locke falls to us at 10, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take one or the other right there. I mean, we have to. We're not going to get that opportunity too often. But, like I said, I don't want Jones at 10, so if we can get him, trade down, pick up some picks, maybe trade down to some other teams we know don't need quarterbacks and get in front of the ones that do, and maybe take Jones later in the first round as a gamble, like, I'm okay with that. And then if he's not there and we have to pick somebody else and we got value for the trade down that we make, I'm okay with that either. But at some point, then that forces our hand next year that we're going to have to move up in the draft to get the guy that we want to get, because we can't just sit here and hope that our quarterback falls to us. We got to pick the guy that we want, and you got to go get him, and we got to pay whatever it's going to cost to get him, because they're going to be here for a long time. Yeah. Where'd I get this sweater? This is an old school Mitchell and Ness one. So it's really heavy. It's got these really nice cuffs and trim pieces on it, and a sewn in Broncos old school logo. And then I thought I had an AFC patch on this one. I guess I don't. But no, it's just an old one that I probably have 10 different Broncos sweatshirts. And, just from all years, whatever. So, these are around. They're not they're not easy to find. Mitchell and Ness doesn't make a lot of items when they do make stuff. So you might have to check like eBay or something. You can't buy it new from Mitchell and Ness. It's obviously an older one. So you can got the older colors, not even the darker blue. Happy New Year, your military money. Actually, I'm getting ready to head next door myself, meet up with a few friends. I live actually upstairs and next door to a couple of bars. And so it's fun. You can stand out on my balcony and watch a lot of debauchery going on at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I know all the bartenders and owners and everything over there, and I didn't really feel like going out and driving and, you know, messing with cops. And, you know, I don't drink and drive, and I don't really even drink. So I'm probably just going to go next door for a little bit and hang out there. But I just want to jump in here and talk about Vance, and that, you know, I was happy that he was gone, but I'm not pointing the finger at him that it was all his fault, because it most certainly wasn't. There's a lot of things that contributed to this, and, you know, you got to feel bad for Vance. I mean, Vance got given a pretty good team to start this year off. I mean, I think when we were 2-0 and you're looking, hey, well, Case ain't too bad. We got decent defense, and Lindsey looks nice, and we can run the ball, and, you know, maybe we can do a little bit here. But we got decimated with injuries, and then Vance making some bad calls, and the season spiraled out of control on us after we had that little winning streak there where we beat some quality teams, Pittsburgh and the Chargers, and who else did we beat there? Cincinnati. And then, you know, stumbled against the 49ers and Bengals, or 49ers and Browns, and the Raiders. So, you know, the injuries really hurt. I mean, look, we didn't just get injuries. We lost our two best playmakers on really both sides of the ball. I mean, Harris picks off a lot of passes, shut down corner. He's an elite corner, a Pro Bowl type corner. And I don't think he's as good as he has been, but he's still pretty dang high up on that list of corners. Carr isn't very much better at Keenum as of late. Actually, I think he is. I think Carr has played really nice the last 6 weeks. Outside of the Chiefs game, he didn't play good in that game. But I mean, against a lot of, and even against us, I mean, he had everything he threw was underneath. But I think Carr needs some more. I mean, he needs some weapons, man. I mean, we don't exactly have a dominant running back, and Jordy Nelson's your best wide receiver. I mean, that's not going to do you much good. And just some troubles, new coaches. I mean, team moving, the whole distraction of the city of Oakland suing the Raiders. I mean, I think Derek Carr is fine. I really do. I think Derek Carr's got some heart. I think he's a good player. I think he can make all of the throws, and I think that the Raiders aren't going to draft a quarterback because, look, if John Gruden can't get this done with Derek Carr, there's a problem. Derek Carr's good enough to win you a Super Bowl. He is. He is. So, but I'll agree with you that most of this year, Carr really wasn't any better than Keenum. I mean, he just wasn't. But I think these last few weeks, Carr's really stepped his game up, and he's improved. Well, I think I'm going to hit the showers, get ready for a little night out. I just want to thank everybody that's, you know, always comes through these streams that I have, watches my videos. Look, I know there's a lot of content, not only on TV, but on YouTube that you can be watching. Tons of video makers out there. I'm sure several that are much better than me. But I just appreciate that you guys stop in here and listen to what I have to say. I mean, look, man, I bleed the blue and orange. I love these Broncos. And I want them to win, and I want to make the best decisions. But I also want to lay the blame where it's supposed to be laid, fire people who are supposed to be fired, and get off the people who are, you know, we're not on. I'm not a homer to where, you know, like I'm going to put Elway in this protective cocoon. If Elway was the problem, I tell you Elway's the problem. And I'm telling you, the problem right now, the main problem the Denver Broncos have is Joe Ellis and this squabble between the family of who's going to own the Denver Broncos. This is the OG Bronc Nuts. 719 West. Happy New Year to everybody. The next time I see you will be next year. See you tomorrow, suckers.